Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the technology that runs our work lives. You know, that invisible world of networks and apps that we rely on every single day. We're going to map out the entire anatomy of the modern digital workplace. I mean, think about your own workday. Your team is probably spread out all over the place, maybe even across different continents. But somehow, you're all collaborating in real time, hitting deadlines that feel like they're getting shorter and shorter. So how does this whole thing actually work? Well, it's not magic. It's a really powerful and often hidden ecosystem of tech that we're about to break down.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll lay down the foundations of our digital world. Then, we'll see how that has totally changed things like meetings and presentations. After that, we'll get into a really cool theory that helps you pick the right tool for the job. And finally, we'll see how to put it all together.
All right, let's start at the very beginning, the bedrock. Before we can even talk about a single app or piece of software, you've got to understand the two fundamental networks our entire digital world is built on.
It really boils down to two different worlds. On one hand, you've got the internet. That's the big public square where basically everyone connects. It's wide open, which is great. But it also means it can be a little chaotic and not so secure. On the other hand, you have the intranet. You can think of this like your company's private digital fortress. It's super secure and it's built for one reason, to share important internal info safely and efficiently.
So all this stuff, the networks, the software, the gadgets in our hands, it all falls under this one big umbrella term, Information and Communication Technology, or ICT. And this isn't just some techie jargon. It's literally the engine that's driving pretty much the entire modern economy.
Okay, so with those foundations down, let's zoom in on something we all know and, well, sometimes dread, the meeting. The way we connect and work together has been completely revolutionized by all this tech.
You know, the original promise of teleconferencing was pretty simple, but it was a game changer. Just by cutting out travel, companies saved a ton of time and money, and that directly boosted productivity, letting teams make decisions way faster and work together more often, especially when video came along and added that crucial face-to-face feel.
But let's be real, we've moved way beyond a simple conference call. Today's virtual meeting platforms are full-blown digital environments. You can record the whole thing for people who couldn't make it, use a live chat for questions so you don't have to interrupt, and sync it all with your calendar. These aren't just calls anymore. They're actual collaborative spaces you can customize for getting real work done. So, getting together to collaborate is one big piece of the puzzle. But what about when you need to broadcast your ideas? This is all about the tools we use to share information, everything from a big, formal presentation to those quick-fire chats that really drive the workday. And here is a simple but really deep truth for our time. A slide with just a wall of text on it, it just doesn't work anymore. To make a message actually land and stick with people, you have to engage more of their senses. Multimedia presentations aren't just about looking fancy. They create a much deeper impact and actually help your audience remember what you said. So, what's in the toolbox for a modern presenter? Well, it's this whole creative palette. You're not just writing a report, you're building an experience. You can mix in text and images, drop in a short video or a cool animation to make a point, and use sound and narration to tell a story that really connects with people. Okay, let's shift gears from the big presentation to the everyday pulse of work, messaging. And here's the key thing to get. These tools play a crucial double-duty role. They're the engine for your internal team, helping everyone collaborate, but they're also the front door for instant external communication with your customers. Seriously, modern business messaging platforms are like the Swiss Army knife of communication. They pack everything into one spot: group chats, video calls, secure ways to share files, and even things like digital whiteboards you can all draw on together. And this isn't just for convenience. It's all about making workflow faster and smoother at the speed of a conversation. Okay, so we've got all these amazing tools, right? But that brings up a new and super important question. Which one do you actually use and when? Because picking the wrong one can cause all sorts of confusion and frustration. It turns out it's not just about what you say, it's about being strategic about how you say it. And that brings us to this really cool idea from back in the 80s that honestly is more relevant today than ever. It's called media richness theory.
It was developed by Richard Daft and Robert Lengel, and it's basically a framework for grading how good a communication channel is at carrying complex information and, this is the important part, clearing up any potential confusion.
So on one end of the spectrum, you've got what they call lean media. Think about a formal report, a company-wide memo, or just a simple informational email. These are absolutely perfect when you need to send out clear, simple information that doesn't leave room for interpretation. They create a record, and they don't need any emotional nuance or a bunch of back and forth.
Then, on the complete opposite end of that spectrum, you have rich media. Now, the absolute richest, gold standard example is a face-to-face conversation, with a video call being a very, very close second. These channels are essential when you're dealing with tricky, sensitive, or complex topics, because they transmit all those extra layers of meaning, your tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, and they let you get feedback right away to clear things up.
And this chart here just lays it all out so clearly. Way over on the left, you have lean media, like memos. As you move to the right, you start adding more channels for feedback and nuance. You get to email. And finally, you hit the richest media, like video calls and face-to-face. The big strategic takeaway here is simple. You gotta match the richness of the channel to the complexity of your message. I mean, you wouldn't try to solve a delicate team issue over a memo, right? And you definitely don't need a full video call just to announce the date of the office party.
All right, final section. Let's pull all of this together. See, it's not enough to just have the tools or even to understand the theory. The real skill is in applying all this knowledge strategically. And we're going to use one of the most visible examples of modern communication to see how it works: social media. Managing a company's social media is the perfect case study here. It's not just about randomly posting things. It's a non-stop cycle. You start by analyzing who your audience is. That analysis then helps you build a real strategy. The strategy tells you what kind of content to create. Then you have to monitor the conversations happening around that content, which gives you data that you can measure. And that data, it feeds right back into the beginning, helping you analyze and refine things for the next cycle. It's a loop.
And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of everything we've talked about. It doesn't matter if you're sending an internal memo or building a global social media campaign, the end goal is exactly the same. Success today comes from deeply, truly understanding the behavior and the needs of your audience. All these tools we have are just different pathways to make that connection.
Which brings us to our final thought. We've just mapped out the workplace of today, but the ground is already shifting under our feet. Things like 5G, the Internet of Things, and what people are calling Industry 4.0, they're all about to make our communications even faster, even more immersive. But as the tools get more and more powerful, that core question we explored today just becomes more and more critical. How do we pick the right channel at the right time to create real human understanding? What do you think that future is going to look like?